One. Boom. Praxis Sales Mastermind. Last one of the year. This is insane. It has been such a crazy year, I'm sure, for every single person who's ever been on these calls. And I'm thrilled to be joined by Jared, Thomas, and Jayla. Hopefully more to come. And yeah, I just wanted to basically have this one be a very low-key kind of just recap of cool shit that's happened over the year. As well as maybe sharing lessons learned, et cetera, and then brainstorming and game planning stuff for the new year. Because there's definitely some good energy around, setting New Year's resolutions at this time. We just had an eclipse. If you believe in astrology and BS like that, then, now's the time. Now's the time to plan. But yeah, I'd kick it over to you guys. What's some cool shit that's happened this year that's exciting? And yeah, let's kick it off.
I'll go. So the beginning of 2019, I was writing BizOp copywriting, BizOp stuff. So very hypey, very like business opportunity stuff. So like the lowest key buyer, the person who like 50-year-olds who just buy anything to try and make money online, right? Like that's the stuff that I was writing. Didn't feel great. It was very like hurt my soul.
Yeah.
Selling to those types of people. And I was making about 50 to 60,000 a year. And I guess what I'm trying to do is set the picture for the beginning of the year, set the picture for the end of the year, talk about a big lesson, and then look forward to next year. Perfect. That's the way I'll handle it. So that's where I was at the beginning, 2019. End of 2019, make six figures, writing in the health niche, which I love. Still coaching other, copywriters, and it's very rewarding. This year has been amazing, and I would say the biggest thing that I've picked up from it is just the sheer power of just going to live events and talking to people that are in your industry. Man, I wouldn't be with the company that I'm at today if it weren't for that. Just an event that I went to in September, I made contacts with people that like, if I just want work, if I want a little extra work right now, I can just literally reach out to them and be like, hey, looking for outside work. Let's work together. And I can close deals like that. There's no like negotiating or anything of that manner. So I know that it's not quite the same thing as if you're like, on the phone in sales or whatnot, but you can still pick up these kinds of opportunities if you just go to live events in the industry that you want to work in, or where your dream clients or where your dream business is going to be, right? So that was a big lesson. And I think the biggest, the offshoot lesson of that is don't be afraid to spend money to go to these events. Because the events that cost money and the events that cost the most money are going to be the ones with the most important players there. So I've probably dropped 10 to 15,000 this year going to events. And I'm going to spend way more than that this next year. I've already dropped 5,000 to be in a mastermind just to make the connections and everything. That starts up January 1, and I'm going to be taking many opportunities to drop even more thousands of dollars to go to events with clients that are going to be there to make connections. So that's my big plan for 2020 is just meet more people, go to more events, and I'll pass it off.
Yeah, that's super awesome, dude. I love that so much because just the idea of the more expensive the event, the higher ticket players are actually showing up to those events. That's where ROI comes in, because that relationship, you just had a really good first interaction and connection with the executive at the company, Natural Health Sherpa. And I mean, tell us a little bit about how that interaction went and how quickly you were able to just leverage that to like make shitloads more money.
Yeah. So to talk about like specific number wise, just so you can get a feel for ROI, the event that I went to cost $2,000. Probably about 2,500 if you factor in the travel and the hotel, which is super expensive in DC. Which like this, we were in like a higher class part of DC too, to make matters even worse for that. And that like now that job pays me, I make six figures as a copywriter. So you do the ROI for 1 year. It was like $2,500 to, I don't even know the percentage on that because I suck at math, but you can see the numbers. What was it like? Okay, so I got there. This is one of the few ones that I didn't actually really know too many of the people. Like I didn't do any research about anybody that was going. I didn't try to find out anybody that was going because I really didn't have an intention of going other than to learn and meet people. But I didn't go with any intention to like score a client or anything like that. And so I got there, and the first day I just started talking to who's the copy chief at my company at lunch. Literally just started a conversation with her. It was like the small talk conversation. Hey, how's it going? What's your name? What do you do? And we quickly just started talking about copywriting and our shared passion for it. This kind of brings up one thing where I do want to side tangent on people who are scared to go to events think about like the small talk and like worry. When you go to an event, you want to be memorable. That's the biggest thing. And so anybody who like teaches going to events is going to tell you to not engage in small talk and to instead do something else. And there are many other methods of doing it, like a simple compliment, right? On something, like you see somebody who looks nice, they have like nice shoes or something. Compliment it. That's going to make you stick out because if they spend a lot of money on their shoes, then they probably want to be noticed for them, something like that. So anyway, small talk, how's the weather? How's it going? What do you do? Can be fine as long as you get past it really quickly, right? You have to get into a deeper conversation quickly because as soon as that small talk dies out, then your conversation dies out. So what I did with her was, yes, I started with small talk, but when I found out that she was the copy chief, I didn't immediately get needy and start being like, oh, this is somebody who I can leverage into a job. It was just like, no, okay, that's awesome. You're the copy chief. Like, wow, I follow this company. They're amazing. How cool is that I'm getting to talk to you. And I didn't shy away from like my passions within copywriting, right? Because what came out of the conversation, sorry if you hear yelling, that's my kid, was that we both ended up having the same passions, like long form copy. We both like focusing on ethical copywriting. No worries.
Yeah, no worries.
And so what happened was naturally out of this conversation grew a very quick friendship, a very quick relationship, because I was just very open with like, oh, I love this. I really don't like this type of copy and I don't like this and whatever. And we just related. So it was like the same day, we just kept talking. Like after the event, we went to dinner and whatnot. And, I did know that this was somebody who could lead to good things. So I made sure to keep talking to her, not like trying to keep her from talking to anybody else per se, but just like I gravitated towards continuing conversation with her throughout the night. And by the end of it, she was just, and I showed her some of my samples, like while we were at the bar, like literally, because we were talking about it. And I was explaining some of the niches that I was in. She liked what I was doing. And then by the end of the night, she was just like, you should come and write for Sherpa. We have this great atmosphere. You'll get to learn directly from me, all this stuff. It was like she was literally pitching me on coming to work for them. And so that was really awesome. And so what happened then was two and a half months passed. And then she finally reached out to me and saying, hey, we're making our first round of hires. And we're, definitely interested. I showed your copy to the owner and, we'd like to, send you some spec stuff. So I had to do like some hoop jumping, obviously. But they, because of that relationship, I didn't have to be the best copywriter because she saw my passion for it. So it was within 3 months that I had a gig, that I had this gig. Sorry, I know that was a long,
No, not at all. Thomas, did you want to ask him something?
Yeah, I was curious. So you're networking with this executive at the conference, and it was the first day that you met her. How long did you nurture that relationship until she's pitching you on the company? Was it within the same conversation? Did you see her later in the conference, on another day?
We chatted during lunch. We found out that we both had, a passion for the long copy and wanted to focus on because there are a lot of copywriters who want to write long form. They want to write emails. They want to write everything. And I was like, no, I don't like being that type of writer. I want to be really good at one thing. And she, thought the same thing. So anyway, once lunch was over, and the day was over and everything was done for the day, we went down to the hotel bar to wait for our Uber to get taken to the Cherry Blossom Festival in DC. Sorry, I'm trying to remember everything that happened here. And at the bar was where we continued talking about it. And that's when she was impressed by how much I knew based on how little I had been copywriting at that point, because I had only been in the industry for 8 months. I took my first client 8 months prior. And that's one thing that's super important, right? That's why I never tell people who are new at something to shy away from saying that they're new at it. Because if you have a wealth of knowledge and you really dive in and you learn something thoroughly, if you're new, if you're under a year of doing something and you have a really good understanding of it, people are super impressed by that. Because most people just half-ass things, right? So she was impressed by that and just by the conversation we were having. And that's when she asked if I had, if I could send her some samples. And I said, yeah, absolutely. In fact, let me pull up Google Docs right here and I'll show you a sample of something that I wrote. And so I just literally showed it to her at the bar. And then we left. And then just kind of later that night, I just kind of naturally brought it up. But I just started asking her questions, right? I didn't go back into conversation with her, talking about me or anything like that. I started asking her about how she ended up as copy chief. I knew who the copy chief of Sherpa was before her. So I was asking what happened to him, everything like that. And so I was just making sure to focus the conversation on her and only bring in anything about me when it actually enhanced the conversation or was pertinent to the conversation. So, and then that was by the end of the night. She was like, I'd love to work with you in an actual formal setting and have projects so that you're getting paid and that we can work together and whatever.
So what conference or meeting was this again?
This was just it was called Copywriting Velocity. It was hosted by a A-list copywriter who's in the industry, who's been around for 25 years. She's one of the top names in copywriting. So it was just a small, intimate event, not a big, I'm trying to think of some big events that go on, Funnel Hacking Live or something by Russell Brunson. Wasn't one of those.
Did you
just find out about it?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm on this particular A-list copywriter's email list. And so we got together. She sent out promotional emails, obviously, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I like hearing your story, man. That's awesome.
Thank you. trying to keep it not so long-winded.
No worries.
Yeah, literally zero. It's super valuable, man. Love it. Fucking love it. I guess any other questions for Jared or anyone else wanna hop in?
Yeah. One more question. So now that you're saying like you want to do more events like in the future and everything, do you have like a set plan? Like, oh, I want to do like these many events or go to this many networking events a month or whatever. Or are you just kind of winging it, you know?
I have two big ones. So I don't know. I think, yeah, you were on the call when I said that I just joined a mastermind that's starting in January. That was my first one. That's not an event per se, but it is a collection of people that will be together weekly. So you can network within that, even if it's not face-to-face. There's one in March that I'm definitely going to. It's AWAI's event, which is American Writers and something. And then there's a big event for copywriters called Copy Chief Live in October down in St. Petersburg, Florida. So live, those are the only two that I have scheduled, and I don't really have an, oh, and there's one that my company is going to send me to in February that's out in Vegas. So those three are the ones that are planned, but anything else, you know, I'm sure will come up. I'm on everybody's email list, so I'll get notifications of all the events that are going on. And from there, I'll probably do one or two more, but 3 a year will be, is going to be a lot of talking to people.
Good job. Well, cool. It's cool to see how like everybody navigates that part, you know?
It's super underutilized.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, it makes me want to go to, I don't know where I would go. Sales events? There's got to be sales events.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess
Probably.
the biggest events that I would, like if somebody that was like a phone salesperson, it's like, what event should I go to? I would say figure out who you want to work for and find out what trade shows they're going to be at.
Yeah. I feel like you would have to do it a little bit differently than just like, because who hosts a sales event in particular? But you could probably find better for specific industries. You know?
Yeah.
If you want to break into a specific industry, you go to their events. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I was going to say there are, like I know Sales Loft and Outreach, they have big events that are very sales specific. So those are like the only two that really jump to mind. And then I guess Dreamforce as well, but that's kind of like an everybody just piling into each other. But there's probably a lot of sales specific events within Dreamforce, but those might be a few to look at. I think those will be the ones for Sales Loft and Outreach will probably be coming up in the next few months.
That's awesome. I'd totally forgotten that they host those events. One of my old managers went to one. And this is actually kind of a funny story. It's just going to be a total tangent. So my old manager at Reliant when I was an SDR was just like, no knocking him. He was a fun guy, but he was just kind of dumb. And so we trolled him this one time. We found out that you can like go on Google and like type upside down text generator. And so we started messaging him while he was at this conference in upside down text. And we were like, dude, our shit's broken. Everyone's text is coming in upside down. It's happening to our emails. What do we do? And like he legit walked out of the conference live to like come back to the office and get to the bottom of like working with our IT department to figure out what was making our text come in upside down. And he was like panicking. He was like, oh my God, dude, we're getting hacked. And then we told him that like, bro, you're stupid. Like we were just fucking with you. Why'd you leave? And he was super mad. But he was at the Sales Loft conference. That's the tie-in. Shit. So, I guess I'll hop in a little bit and chat about kind of same cadence as Jared. What 2019 starting looked like and what 2019 ending looks like now. I had just passed over management of the SDR team to Marcus, who's on this call, at the start of this year. and I was resuming my responsibilities as an account executive full time. And I feel like I learned and grew a shit ton in 2018, and passing off the baton to someone else to like do the responsibilities that you were previously in charge of, that might sound like a step down. And I was kind of thinking about it as a step down at the time, but really it let me focus on being an account executive more and like just honing in my sales skills, which was super important at the outset of my career at Reliant. And I ended up closing a very large deal with Lockheed Martin. That was pretty much the largest sale in the company year to date, because I had quit in mid-April, I believe was the exact time frame. And I quit because they changed the comp plan to make it so that anyone who leaves is going to have 50% of their commissions withheld 90 days before they quit. And that's fucked up and horrible. And I don't want to work for anyone that's going to do that to their employees. So my mistake was that I felt very vengeful and angry, and I wanted to leverage the knowledge that I had in the industry to fuck with them and make money myself. So I started a competitor. And pro tip, don't start businesses out of spite. That's not sustainable. And if you have a conscience like I do, it'll fuck with you, and it'll fuck with you hard. Yeah, so ultimately, I was successful in a monetary sense. The business was profitable, and I closed 100K in revenue within 4 months of running the business. But I was fucking miserable, and I didn't really know why. And in hindsight, I think a huge part of it was just my unconscious mind telling me, like, bro, this is not like good. Just because you don't have a non-compete signed with them doesn't mean that it's cool to like take all of your top customers and take them away from your former employer. Like, it would be one thing if I built the entire business based off of legitimately going out and competing in the marketplace for like new companies or whatever. And there's nothing like inherently immoral. At least it'd be very difficult for me to see a moral argument for like saying what I did was morally wrong. Because again, there's no non-compete. It's the free open game. I provided the exact same services to the customers at a lower cost. But yeah, it just ultimately didn't sit well with me. I had no passion for the industry, no passion for the business, and it was started out of spite. So don't do that. I grew very unhappy and depressed, even just like not feeling super motivated to like work on the business fairly quickly too. And so it was this crazy thing of like doing well financially, but then also as I did better financially, just like feeling less motivated to continue growing the actual business. And I had this kind of watershed moment. I started looking for other jobs because I was like, okay, I'm leaning towards either moving this to like a part-time thing or just dropping it completely. And I saw this exciting opportunity. This guy reached out to me from my Crash profile. And it was a really cool opportunity. I would basically be the lead SDR on a team that was helping newish entrepreneurs hire their first $1 million sales people. So helping people who were like sole proprietors or small companies hire on better talent. So it's kind of interesting role. And I had this really great, strong interview with this guy where it was like shitloads of rapport. It was all going well. The interview was progressing, and it was green flags everywhere. I think there was a good connection. And then I told him that I started this company and that I took my top customers with me. And he was like, man, I'll be honest with you, dude, that's like a total deal breaker. And I wanted him to spell it out for me as to why, because I was like, I was curious, and B, I was just kind of like, fuck, damn, that sucks. So like, tell me why. I genuinely want to know. And he said it very simply. He's like, if you're capable of doing it to them, why wouldn't you do it to me? And it's like, damn, that's a super fucking valid point. That like rocked my world. That was like, shit, I don't want to be the kind of guy that does that, because that's not going to reflect well on me. That's not going to serve me in the long run. And that's going to close down opportunities more so potentially than open them up with the kinds of people that I want to work for. So from there, I was like, okay, like hardcore reflected on it for a while, and I was like, all right, so let's think about this. I took the customers, and fuck, that's kind of, I earned those customers only because I had access to the Reliant Technology name. That's the only reason why I was put in touch with them in the first place. So, damn it, I guess it is kind of fucked up that I took them. So what I did was I said, okay, I'm going to shut it down, but I want it to serve the customer. I don't want my customers to be fucked because, you know, I quote unquote, I did this to them, right? I put them in relationship with a new business entity. So I'm going to hook them up. And my top customer, I gave away all of the trade secrets that would enable them to do all of the work that I've done for them completely on their own at a far lower cost. And something very interesting happened. The president of that company reached out to me and said, Nick, tell me what's going on. And I was like, well, I did receive a cease and desist letter from my former employer. I'm not particularly enthused at the idea of going up against a $10 million company in a legal suit. So I'm figuring it's going to be better to just cut my losses and move on. And he's like, that's fine. We've liked working with you. And why don't you just join our team as a contractor and keep doing what you're doing today. We'll pay you what you want. And just let me know your fee. So through establishing that precedent of giving away everything and just being like, I want you guys to be served. Here's the exact list of all the vendors and all the emails and exactly how you go through the process of like procuring these parts and shipping them out. It's very simple. Here's exactly how you do it. That built trust, and it established credibility, authority, trust, everything. And so I secured a gig out of that where I was paid $2,000 a month to send emails for 10 minutes a day. That was ultimately the result. And so I think that depending on how you view a situation, I could have been defeated. I could have been downtrodden. I could have been like, oh man, I'm just going to crawl up and disappear and fuck everyone over and like, oh, woe is me. But instead I was like, all right, I've got to do the right thing. I'm going to help these people as much as I can as I exit. And then through that made 10 grand, just boom. So it's like, be willing to let go of everything. You might get something in return and you might not, but you'll at least feel good about how you handle the situation. And there actually is a really high likelihood that someone is going to want to reciprocate the value that you give to them in a situation like that. So I think that was probably one of the most important lessons of the entire year, is like just seeing that come around, boom, full circle like that so quickly. I was really amazed. So then from there, moving on, I got a job at Toggle, and that's my current position. And it's a really funny, crazy thing where the role that they hired for is, quote, account executive. The reality of the role is I'm their sales director or VP of sales, however you want to look at it, because I'm building out their sales process from scratch. And I'm hiring 2 more people this coming year. So January, I'll be growing the team. We're hiring a customer success person, and I'll be managing all these people, doing up all the enterprise sales. And it's just really crazy. Like, I'm just super fucking blessed to already have bounced into a much better position than I could have foreseen myself getting into at the onset of the year. So don't discount how much growth can happen in a single freaking year. It's actually insane. So I went from just being a, account executive or senior account executive to literally building out an enterprise sales team from scratch at a better, healthier company where I work fully remote. And like that kind of quantum leap in growth is totally possible to everyone on this call. And I think will happen for everyone on this call, because you're the types of people who get on this call the day after fucking Christmas. Like, this is how you choose to spend your time. And I'll close with an interesting idea. I can't remember. It's the founder of Y Combinator. I don't remember his name. It's a startup accelerator in San Francisco. He basically said, every opportunity that you move into, you want it to be such a good opportunity that it makes everything else you've done in your career look like a footnote. And that's a useful mentality to have when you're searching for new opportunities. And it's a like, you guys a lot of you are very early on in your career. And that kind of thing, I think, will just spontaneously happen as you get new positions. As you go into your first SDR job, everything that you did that looked cool on paper in high school becomes a footnote. When you become a senior account executive at that same company or move on to another company, everything that you did in your SDR job is just going to be a footnote. So just bear in mind that if you can keep that up for just 10 years, you'll be a super accomplished badass. So just be trying to think about things in those kinds of terms. And with that, I'll zip it.
What a crazy year, man. That's just an insane story. It's extremely motivating to hear as well. I remember meeting you at FECon in Atlanta. I was super impressed. I'm like, wow, he started his own company. He left his old BP and started a new one. That's super cool. But I remember I was asking you about it, and you didn't seem super excited. You're like, yeah, it's cool. But like, I guess that's probably why you weren't happy, right? You're going through like some sort of moral struggle or something. Was that around the time of Atlanta?
Yeah. I already wasn't passionate about the business at that point. I don't think I'd hit the moral crisis of it yet, but it was already just like, yeah, just so many unconscious thoughts of like, this is a business that started out of spite and I have no passion for the industry whatsoever. So it's like, why would I be happy? It's actually really fucking hard to be an entrepreneur. Jared knows this. He's run a business. It's fucking hard. And if you're not interested in the business, then like, it just sucks, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
But thank you.
It's kind of cool how you like did the right thing and it worked out in the end. Like people always say, oh, just do it. It'll work out. And it did, kind of like in a different way, right? Like your direct opportunity didn't result of you quitting, but.
That's such a good point, because when you do the right thing, it'll often work out in the right way that you never expected would ever happen in 1,000 years. I did not expect to become a contractor for Unidata. Like that wasn't even a thought in my mind. And then just boom, it happened as a direct result of that. So.
What were your goals for 2020? Did you set any?
Oh yeah. So it's weird. I'm not one to like really consciously like introspect or plan on the future. I have to.
Who can predict what happened in 2019, right? Like.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I have no idea what life will look like at the end of 2020. But what I do know is that I want to grow the sales team at Toggle to 5 people. I want to get in the best physical shape of my life. I want to travel and spend significant amounts of time in at least 5 new places. Denver is the first on the list. I'll be going to Denver for a couple of weeks in January. Toggle is going to take me to all kinds of crazy places because they have team meetups and they just choose to do them in random countries. So I'm like going to Jordan, the country, or Georgia, the country rather. So that'll be weird and fun. Yeah. And beyond that, it's still kind of in the air for me. I don't know, you know, and I'm okay with not knowing because I'll figure it out.
That's freaking awesome, man. Exciting.
Yeah. Thank you. So Thomas, you're kind of at an interesting juncture as well, right? Because no, please, like tell us about kind of a little bit of what you're up to and maybe what some of your goals might be for the coming year.
Okay. So in terms of what I'm up to, I didn't actually get into like sales stuff until like a few months ago. So I'll skip over most of like 2019 for me. So I was running my own business, Tactical Airsoft. It was like an Amazon FBA program. But kind of like what Nick was saying, if you're not passionate about it, it's gonna suck. So I made 10K through that business, and I'm like, okay, I'll use this as a platform to jump to my next opportunity. And that's kind of like, I think what got me accepted into Praxis.
What were you doing again?
Airsoft manufacturing. It was basically I partnered with a Chinese factory, and then they made products for me, and then I sold them. So it was like I was like a middleman kind of. It was not super cool. Like it's not something you like when someone asks you what you do, you don't want to tell them, oh, I'm a middleman for a Chinese factory. I mean, that's not what I'd say I was, but anyway, I didn't like it. So I'm like, let's get our job. Also, like
you could sell yourself better than that.
I did when I interviewed for Praxis, but I made it sound better. But
it's really cool. It's really cool what you were doing. And there's not a lot of kids that do stuff like that. So like sincere credit to you and your ingenuity in figuring out an opportunity like that. and making it profitable. Just want to say that.
Right. By the way, it's not very glamorous. It took me almost a full year to actually make profit. So it was profitable, but like it took so long to get there and it was just a hassle. Anyway. Yeah, so I joined Praxis from that, and I didn't actually go to a sales job. I work marketing right now. So it's fast forwarding towards like the end of fast forwarding towards the end of 2019. I want to start a new business because I'm still passionate about entrepreneurship. But the reason I quit in the first place was because it's kind of lonely when you're the only guy working at a company. So I needed that real life job aspect. So now I'm starting my new business, which I've been talking about a little bit on these calls. Generous vending. It's not really a business. It's kind of a charity. So place vending machines at local stores, partner with them, and they get to choose what money goes to charity, and I get to pick what charities get money as well. It's kind of my goal. In terms of growth, I've gone from literally zero to probably I still don't know much about sales at all, but I can already tell I've learned so much in the past like 1 month. And specifically between the last call that we had on this mastermind was where most growth happened for sure. So I went out the next week and I just went out and walked into a bunch of businesses and I got over a lot of my fear just approaching people. I think I got like 6 warm leads now that have my card and they said they'd be interested, and I'm going to follow up with them when I get back in San Francisco. So that like this was a huge block for me. I hated going out and talking to people. Like it was super nerve-wracking, and I'm not super confident when selling. So like it was such a huge amount of growth that happened that one weekend, and it's only going to go better and better from now on. So that's probably like the biggest thing that changed. And then I guess goals for 2020. I might be moving sometime in 2020, but I'll probably establish the same business in another location because those skills are transferable. I'm sure I can get clients in another, like if I go to Texas, I can probably find different clients like in the same area or whatever. But yeah, I want to get to the point where I'm raising $100 a month that goes straight to charity from generous vending. So I don't know when that's going to happen in 2020, but I want to end the year at least having a passive income that goes to charity of at least $100 a month. So it's not a flashy goal. Like when you hear all these 100K values from Nick and Jared or 6-figure, whatever. But I'm so new to sales and I have other things going on, but that's like something I really want to do. And I look forward to learning from you guys a lot in 2020 and hopefully make that happen.
How old are you again?
20. Yeah. I turned, yeah.
Okay. I'm fucking 28.
That's not old either. That's not old.
I'm not old either, but compared to you, I am. Mm-hmm. And this is the first year that I've made any like real amounts of money. And so, well, minus when I was in car sales a few years back. But that just sucked. Life was miserable. Like this is the first year that I've had money and happiness. So you're 20, like you've got just a shit ton of time, and who gives a fuck about like a financial goal? You have an awesome goal, right? To give back to charity. Like what Nick and I make is like, has nothing to do with anybody else but us, or like, and me and my family. Like charity is such an amazing thing. Like as I make more money, I want to give more to charity. Like I want to be able to do that. So just the fact that that is your goal is very like telling of your personality. Right.
Well, there's a selfish aspect. Don't make me sound like a saint here, because if I was trying to raise $100 a month for charity, I could just give $100 a month. The selfish aspect is trying to like make myself a salesperson and grow businesses. But yeah,
I think that's just assumed, right? We're all realistic people here. We all understand that there's a selfish side to every decision that we make ever, no matter what it is. But no, it's an awesome goal. I don't think that there's any reason to play it down based on what anybody else has made or what their goals are or what they're making in the previous year. Like, it's just a goal is a goal is a goal, and lofty is comparative.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, it's like your goals change as you grow older, as you become more skilled, and you start approaching new levels, and your goals scale with your age and your proficiency in sales. So like Jared and I have way more years of experience. So like never discount the impressiveness of just $100 a month at the age of 20, because there are zero kids that are doing that at your age. Zero. So you're truly unique. So it's like a super valid, interesting accomplishment. And then when you're 25, that scale might grow to $5,000, $10,000 a month, and it'll just be a natural thing. And it's funny because as a human being, then you would be like, but I know these guys that are doing things and they're millionaires and they're only 30. And it's like, yeah, that's my tendency to think that way too. That's everyone's tendency. Don't compare yourself to people who are farther away. Take inspiration, like that's healthy. But to discount yourself, selling yourself short, man.
Yeah, I get what you guys are saying. It sounded weird hearing like these big numbers and then setting $100 goal, but I think that is a good goal and it's realistic for passive income. Like once I establish a client, once I have a sale, it's just pouring in money like it's quarters. It's literally gumball machines, but it's pouring in very slowly. It's passive. So I think that's a realistic goal for me. So that's like what, $1,200 a year for charity. That sounds even better to say that. Like, so yeah, I'm not discounting it or anything, but hopefully I can reach that at least.
I think you can. Want to open it up to either Jayla, Marcus, Corey? What you guys got going on this year?
Yeah, I can run through my wild year. So yeah, it's crazy to look back on this, but I started 2019. I was still in Praxis at the time. Then in May, I got my apprenticeship with Praxis. So I moved from New Jersey to Charleston, and I worked there for like 6 months. Learned a lot in a pretty, scrappy startup environment. Gained a ton of skills from that. Then eventually moved on from them. I ended up getting a job with PandaDoc and moving to St. Petersburg, Florida in the beginning of November. So I've been there for almost 2 months now, which is crazy. I'm in sales there. So it's been a really good learning experience. Started off like first couple weeks were tough. Not gonna lie. It was hard to, break into calling people all the time. Definitely struggled with that at the beginning, but eventually overcame that. And now December, I had a really good month. I surpassed my goal by a few meetings, so that was cool. And then January, I'm trying to get promoted in the next month or two. So yeah, it's been a crazy year. Lived in 3 different places this year.
Yeah, dude, that's wild. So what went well about December that you think you're gonna be repeating in January to get that promotion? I'm curious, what changed?
Yeah, I think it was a lot of mindset stuff. Just like getting over the block of like not wanting to make phone calls and just like wanting to sort of like stay in my comfort zone, I guess. Just like getting over that and realizing that it really doesn't matter, and like who cares if I screw up? Like that's what they want me to do. They want me to screw up. So why not do it? So yeah, I just like sort of faced it and was like, I have to like do this to overcome it. Like I can't just sit back and nothing's gonna happen. So yeah, I think it was just like a mindset shift. I know a lot of people say that, but honestly it was. And then, just started getting more comfortable on the phone and being able to run discovery calls with, potential customers and stuff, and just learning more about our product and everything. definitely helped a lot. So yeah, in January, I booked a meeting with Vodafone, which could be a huge deal. So hopefully that goes well, because that could be over $50,000 deal, which could be really big for me. So we'll see what happens.
Hell yeah, dude. Congrats. And yeah, glad to hear that you've overcome a good chunk of the call reluctance, because that's what makes or breaks salespeople, frankly.
All that good stuff happened to Corey, but his biggest, the biggest good thing that happened to him in 2019 was meeting me. Like, that's just, I don't know why you left that part out, Corey.
Definitely a highlight.
Definitely. Well, cool, man. Cool. I'm thrilled to hear it. I hope that deal closes and you get recognition and you get a promotion. It's awesome. What about you, Marcus Jayla?
Yeah, so I'm like thinking, right? Last year, I had pretty much just started at my job at Lord & Taylor's. And so I was like just learning the ropes. And of course, like to be thrown into retail during the Christmas season was horrendous in a good way, but still, it was a lot. So it took, I think last year was really a lot of me like preparing for stuff, because like last September-ish or so, I signed up for Praxis, and I was like, okay, I need to work and get my money together. So I went crazy and like doing that job at Lord & Taylor, and then I had a remote part-time job. I was literally like taking breaks from Lord & Taylor to do this other job, to go back and then go home kind of thing. But it was great because I learned a lot about managing money. I learned a lot about just being on top of my stuff, and it was able to pay off Praxis in total and everything. So it's awesome, you know? And that, and then I love reading books about like finance and investing and stuff. So I'm really happy that I got to get into that a bit. I started my own investments accounts. I'd started some for my siblings too. So they all have stocks now. I'm so proud and stuff like that. So now like going into 2020, I just want to, now that I'm in placement, of course, like I'm focused right now on, you know, getting placed, getting my apprenticeship and everything. And then from there, in 2020, I want to focus on getting into investing more, because I'll have the constant stream of income, and I can see, like, what, of course, investing in the stock market, but I've been thinking about like other avenues, like real estate or just starting a trucking business. It's just exciting, you know?
Yeah, that's super cool. You have a leg up on me in that area. I don't know shit about investing, and I totally should.
I double that. I know nothing.
I tell you, I was going crazy just like on my lunch breaks at Lord & Taylor's. I was reading this series, I think by J.L. Collins. He's amazing. He breaks it down. It's so simple, man. Like, even to the point of like, I read, what's his name? Warren Buffett's biography and everything. His story is nuts. But even he is like, you don't have to be a Warren Buffett. Like, you don't have to feel like you gotta choose the best, whatever. Like, there's a simpler way to do this. Just do that, you know? But it's so cool, man. So I feel like, okay, I can get placed, then I can dig in, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Watch you become like infinitely wealthier than all of us. Paying attention.
Any 2020 goals yet?
Mm-hmm.
I guess my mom introduced me to this clip from Steve Harvey, because apparently like he's a motivational speaker too and everything. He was like, write down 300 things that you want like out of life and whatever. And so I've been working on that list. I'm like at maybe like 100 or 200 maybe. I'm like trying to think of more stuff, but it's stuff that you can like just write down. And he says to like put up on your vision board, look at it every day, and then cross it off like the next year that comes around. So like I'm going through stuff like that.
Cool. Do you have goals for like where you want to be placed? Like what type of Praxis job you want to get, or?
I don't know. I've been looking at a lot of sales or marketing jobs, but other than that, I'm just kind of open, you know?
Well, you won't get a biased opinion here if it's sales or marketing. We'll tell you straight.
Tell you the objective truth that sales is better.
Of course,
I'm in
you would say
marketing. What am
that.
I saying?
Well, then it's balanced. Then it's
Oh,
balanced.
No, because I
into
would still say go to
first.
sales.
Go into sales
Mm.
first.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's more transferable. Even if I don't like it, like it's 6 months. I'll figure something out, you know?
Exactly. And then the skill sets that you gain from that 6 months of sales experience will make you a way, way, way better performing marketer.
Totally, man.
That's super cool. Thanks for suggesting that that like write down 200 things that you want out of life and like start crossing them off. That's a really cool idea.
Yeah, right? As soon as I think of like that many, you know, it'll be cool.
Yeah, for real. So Marcus, as we are winding things down, what's new and stuff for you? What 2019, 2020? Tell us about it.
Yeah, I think. Excuse me. Oh, and before I continue, I understand I'm on a phone. Am I coming through okay and everything?
Clear as rain. Yes.
Okay, cool. So coming into 2019, I had actually just got done with like my first stint through therapy and like working a lot of stuff out. So I think I actually like 2019 through like April or May of that year was probably my strongest like run of at any point in time. I was like regularly going to the gym. I had like a good routine, but as Nick mentioned at the start of the year, he passed the SDR torch or baton off to me. And one thing I found was I just kept getting, I don't know, just super miserable at Reliant. And when you're miserable at your job all day, it kind of makes it difficult to, I think continue developing outside of that. But I don't know. I think that I was like really focused on sticking around at Reliant for a certain amount of time, just because I had done like a lot of running when I was younger. And I think that like through going to therapy and everything, I had worked enough out where I'd gotten to a point where I was like, okay, things suck right now, but like I'm gonna keep moving forward with this and just like hit that goal. And then I did. And then I found a new job out here in San Francisco. So I'm working for a company called Gong. You might have heard of. If you haven't, you will, because we're going to be the next Salesforce. But I think, I don't know. I think I don't want to get like too into the details, because there's been some stuff at Gong where it's like I got into a position and then I kind of found myself at the crux of a growing pain. And I've had like a really rough quarter, but, kind of gotten through it. So I think for me, a lot of it is just getting to a point where this year has been concrete enough where it's like, okay, I've proved to myself that I've found enough of myself and kind of worked through enough of my stuff that I don't need to run anymore. Like I'm comfortable being where I'm at. And also I got really into Stoicism. I read Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I highly recommend it if you haven't read it before. But just like kind of living according to those values. And there's been many, many opportunities over the last year, and especially in the last few months, where I've gotten to exercise those. So I think for me, professional development kind of took a back seat in the last year, and I want to like kick it back up to the front seat in 2020. But yeah, I think there was just a lot of personal discovery and maturing, for lack of a better word, that just needed to happen. There was just a ton of stuff that was holding me back that I ended up working through. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that makes a ton of sense. And you speak to like one of the most underrated parts of any sales job, which is like the mental and psychological health aspect of it. Like the more that people are willing to be courageous and talk about that stuff like you are, I think the better that we'll all be in the long run. Because like my mental health was a shit show for a good chunk of the year. And that fucked me up like big time.
Yeah.
And that happens to people.
Yeah. No, for sure. Actually, one thing, and this is like kind of side note, but I was at our company's event, Celebrate, and Mark Roberge, who you guys might have heard of, he was the CRO of HubSpot for like 8 or 9 years. He was the guy who built it up from nothing, right? But he was doing like a fireside chat, and one of the biggest things, someone was like, "Hey, what would you say is like the biggest personal investment?" or blah blah blah. He was like, "Therapy, hands down, best ROI on your money ever." So yeah, even like primo CRO among CROs, it's like, dude, if you're gonna be in sales, you gotta watch your mental health. Yeah.
Wow, that's really freaking profound, dude. Tell us about goals for 2020.
Yeah, I think I finally moved into a new place. I have gotten rid of a lot of distractions. So I guess 2020, just like focus on coming in early and staying late, and do everything in my power to advance. I think there's like there's 4 like pillars of success. There's like professional success. I think there's mental success, which I would define by like education, or like reading and exploring. Emotional success, which, you know, is like your emotional well-being. And then also I would lump that in with like your social situation. And then physical success, which is obviously how well you're doing in the physical department. But I think with all those things defined, like I know that those are the 4 areas of my life that I want to have a lot of intention around. And at the end of the, like in a perfect universe, I'd want everything that I'm doing to be contributing to one or more of those pillars in any given day. But I don't know. I need to concretely define, okay, at the end of the year, here are the goals for each of these pillars that I want to attain, and then do the backwards adding to get there month over month and then day over day. So I can't honestly tell you I have like a high level idea, but I need to hash it all the way out.
Yeah, so we're in a similar boat as of right now for that, and I like the concept that you bring up of backwards adding. So defining the end state that you want to achieve, and then figuring out what it takes to get there, as opposed to my default tendency to be like, oh, what do I want? Let me dilly-dally and think about it. Oh, this thing sounds cool. It's like, backwards adding.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, I love it. We're going to go ahead and wind this thing down officially, so we'll stop recording. But this was really one of the coolest calls I feel like that we've done here in a while. It was very different and super fun. So thank you guys all for joining us, and I will look forward to watching you guys grow like badasses in the coming year. And we will stop recording.